C. Prabhupada. Vanchakapatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangolangayate girim yakrapatamaham bande siguru dinataram. So I compiled a large number of quotes about the process of prayer from Srila Prabhupada's books. And we've been going through them one by one and discussing them. And yes, welcome to those of you for the first time. Shaina, Tanya, I think everyone else is. And old faces. Not old in years, but been here before, yeah. So the question has often come up when we discuss prayer. So why do we need to pray to Krishna if he already knows what we want? And the answer is because prayer is a process. And another similar question is asked, why do we chant Hare Krishna? Why do we chant 16 rounds? If you go, I believe, into the, I'm not sure which Veda, but you'll find the Hare Krishna mantra as Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then Mahaprabhu gave it the other way around. Someone could also ask, why do we chant it that way? Why don't we chant other mantras? A lot of why questions about why we do things. And the general answer Prabhupada would give was because that's what Lord Chaitanya did. So we follow in their footsteps. So I think if you've been around for a while, you see that it's quite natural and common that great acharyas write prayers to Krishna. You see Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songbooks, like maybe 100 or more songs, I'm not sure, but just hundreds of songs of prayers. And some of those prayers are not maybe prayers as we know them, but some of those prayers are just revealing the troubles we have in life, the challenges, and revealing to Krishna our helplessness. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in some prayers is revealing his whole life story. So it's just talking to Krishna, opening the heart to Krishna. And so obviously that's important. And in some of my classes, I've been talking about verbalizing your desires rather than just having them, but verbalizing them. So verbalizing them empowers it. It focuses your attention on it. Some people say you should write it down. That also helps. So when we're verbalizing, when we're writing down, we're focused and we're intensifying, or we are conscious of our direction, the direction we want to go. We're conscious of our intentions, and we're talking to Krishna, which is an important part of bhakti. Even asking Krishna for forgiveness, that's part of prayer. As I said, revealing to Krishna our problems, that's part of prayer. Asking for help, that's part of prayer. Glorifying Krishna is part of prayer. Glorifying, like some acharyas, they glorify Krishna's holy name, their prayers. Just entire prayers in glorification of the holy name. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written songs which are elaborations on Shishastakam. So there's really, you could say in a sense, in terms of prayer, there's no real limitation. It's a way of glorifying Krishna. It's a way of speaking to Krishna. Whatever we would want to say to Krishna. If Krishna were in front of you, that's what prayer is. You say it. Glorifying Krishna, there's thousands of ways to glorify Krishna. You can use standard prayers. You can write your own. It can be done in both ways. It's a beautiful process. And if we have a doubt why we need to pray if Krishna knows everything, then one could say, well, why do you need to chant Hare Krishna? You're asking Krishna for service, but he already knows you want service, so you don't need to ask. So I think that makes it clear, doesn't it, about the importance of prayer? Okay, Prabhus, we've decided based on Shastra that Krishna knows what's in your heart. So the conclusion is no need to chant because you're asking for pure bhakti, but he already knows that. You could better utilize that 2 hours doing something else, right? If if I ever say that to you, you should immediately reject me. Throw me in the dustbin and put the lid on. And I'm never going to listen to him again. So the problem is that logical mind can think that way, right? That's how the logical mind may think. So logic is not bad, but sometimes the logical mind could come up with conclusions which go against what Srila Prabhupada has said, what our scriptures say, what the acharyas have said. So I think in doubting the need for prayer, because Krishna already knows what we're thinking, it's a logical way of thinking, but it's a logical way of thinking that brings up a conclusion that goes against our scripture. So if you remember, those of you who have been to this, this has been going on for a few months, I think. If you remember, a lot of the discussions on prayer were about praying for pure bhakti and not praying for something material. Huh. And in rare cases, a devotee would pray for something material because he has no other shelter, no other outlet. He's in danger, she's in danger. But the general gist was, we want to pray to Krishna to serve. We don't want to pray to get. And if we're praying to get, it's only to get something which will help us in service. So someone might say, but when you pray, aren't you praying to get something? Yeah, we are, but we're praying for things which we can use in Krishna service, like love, purity, or empowerment, or any kind of facility which we could use to empower us to serve Krishna. So I was thinking a couple of days ago of an interesting prayer. I don't know why I was thinking of this and where it came from, but I was thinking about asking God for material things, which is common in all religions around the world. And so we know our prayer, Krishna, please engage me in your service. But when we're asking God for something material, then the prayer is, oh, Krishna, can I engage you in my service? And so sometimes devotees ask, when I'm chanting the holy name, is it improper while I'm praying to pray for something material? Yeah, see, like when I was very young, I started losing my hair. So should I chant Hare Krishna and pray, Krishna, bring my hair back? What about that? What do you think? Should we vote on that if that's a good idea or not? Yeah. Why do I want my hair back? So I can be beautiful and have lots of girlfriends, right? So is that a good idea? Of course not. Um, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur has told us that if we're approaching Krishna through the holy name to ask for something material, by material I mean something for my personal sensual pleasure, that's an offense to the holy name. So, oh Krishna, please let me engage you in my service. That's not the meaning of the Maha Mantra, right? Krishna, please allow me Krishna, may I engage in your service. So that's kind of the gist of what we've been discussing. And of course, our prayers reflect our consciousness. So, if a pure devotee prays, what do they pray for? Krishna, please give me pure devotional service. Krishna, please do whatever you have to do with me to help me become pure, like that. That's naturally how they pray. And if one is less pure, they might pray something like, Krishna, help me become a pure devotee, but make it easy. Do it slowly and gradually. I don't know if I can handle it. I know there are obstacles on my path. I should pray to you to take them away, but can you just take them away slowly when I'm ready? And so if we pray that way, that would be because that's where we're at, right? That's the nature of our consciousness. So pure devotees don't pray that way. That's not the nature of their consciousness. Now, we come up with this, there's the statement, fake it till you make it, right? So should I fake a prayer? Should I pray something that's not real for me? I don't think it's ever good. I don't think it's bad to do something, to try to fake it till you make it. And in many ways, that's what Vaidhi Sadhana is. We're doing things that we're not spontaneously attracted to, but we're trying to enter the mood. So maybe I don't have the mood to pray to Krishna for pure bhakti. So what should I pray for? I should pray to Krishna to have the mood. Krishna, I know I should pray to you for pure bhakti, but for some reason, due to my impurity, I don't feel it's natural. I have fears about fully surrendering to you. Okay, so how do I pray? Krishna, please help me so that these fears are removed, so I can pray for pure bhakti. Or like Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim, I don't want wealth, women, and money. How do I say that? How do I pray that way if I actually am not free from those desires entirely? Yeah, I do like women, I do like wealth, and I do like money. That's why we're here in the material world. So then how do I pray that, how do I say I don't want those things when actually deep down I do? Then the prayer is, Krishna, please help me so that I don't want these things. That's the idea. So if we know what is correct and we're not there yet, rather than not praying for those things, we can pray for the desire to have that desire. That's a very important principle and very, I think, natural and common for us to pray for the desire to have the desire. Yes? So, Jairate, do you have the quotes or should I post them? Because you can post them in the chat. Yeah, okay. So if you go to the chat, yeah, if you go to the chat, then we're going to read this quote and discuss it. This is from the 8th canto, 24th chapter, verse 47. For material happiness, the conditioned soul involves himself in fruitive activities, which actually put him into material distress. Because the conditioned soul does not know this, he is said to be in avidya, or ignorance. Because of a false hope for happiness, the conditioned soul becomes involved in various plans for material activity. Here, Maharishi Satyavrata prays that the Lord sever this hard knot of false happiness and thus become his supreme spiritual master. And the next quote relates to this quote. I think Jairati was just putting it. Anyway, we'll wait. Yeah, it's similar. Let me read it. It's similar. The whole Vedic way of life is meant for detachment, and therefore Kunti prays, kindly help detach me from this family attraction. This is Kunti Devi's instruction. So what's going on here in both situations, whether this is true that the devotee is attached or whether they're praying this way for our benefit, Kunti Devi is, her attachment to her sons and our attachment to our family may not be the same, but let's take it at face value for the sake of discussion. that Kunti Devi is actually attached and Satyavrata is actually attached. So what are they saying here? They're saying that attachment for family, for material life is natural, but I see that it's not helpful. This was Kunti's idea. You know, you may say, well, how was it a problem that Kunti was attached to her family, attached to her sons? Her sons were all great devotees. But upon examination, we find that she's saying, I am attached to them as devotees, but I'm also attached to them as my sons, and part of that attachment is not pure, it's unhealthy. And that part of the attachment I would like to remove, because that attachment should be for you, Krishna, and that is a material attachment which needs to be purified. And so we can say the same thing about Satyavrata. Like sometime you might say, well, didn't Satyavrata Maharaj, didn't he know that material happiness is inferior to spiritual happiness? And that sometimes there are prayers where a devotee may say, I know this, but still I'm attached. And so we're all aware of, I know this, but I still can't detach myself. Like, especially with eating, I know this is not healthy, but I can't stop eating it. Yes, you have that problem. I had to go on this diet. Some of you know I'm on a very strict diet. So I don't have that problem anymore because I can't eat doctor won't let me eat anything that's not healthy. So it would be nice in our life if that were also true. Like the doctor says, you can't do anything that's not healthy. And so I know, but I want to do these things. So these prayers are the prayers of my head knows, my intelligence knows, but my heart feels differently from my head. So I need your help so that my heart feels what my head knows. That we've talked about this a lot, and it's such a problem. Does your heart feel what your head knows? Sometimes, but when it doesn't, it's a good time to pray, right? Krishna, I know this. Obviously Kunti knows that attachment is bad for her son's material attachment. That's why she's praying. And that's why Satyavrata is praying, because he knows this material happiness it's inferior and it's an obstacle to my relationship with you. And I want to become detached from it, but I need help. So anything that we know within our head that our heart is not feeling, we should pray to Krishna, don't you think? Krishna, please help me. I understand this, but I don't feel it, or I'm weak in this area. That's what prayer is for. And prayer actually brings you closer to Krishna, because now you're talking to Krishna. And just from a psychological perspective, if you're praying for something to happen, you're more likely to be open for that to happen, willing for that to happen, and you're probably more likely to be acting in a way to make it happen, right? As opposed to not praying. Don't you think? Does that make sense? Like you're bringing it to the forefront. Krishna, I need help with this. Okay, you've put it on the table. It's having an effect on your own consciousness because you've stated it. I need this. Like in coaching, you will be asked to state your goals. What are your goals? What are your intentions? Write it down, put it on the wall, read it, get it in the forefront of your mind, because whatever in the forefront of your mind, that's where you're going. That's the direction of your life. So similarly, if I have an obstacle, but I state that obstacle to Krishna and I ask Krishna to help me overcome the obstacle, we just made an intention, even though it's not exactly like making intention in terms of goal setting, but for all intents and purposes, that's actually what we've done. I had studied goal setting a while back, and I thought, well, if you just pray, basically you're making a goal and asking God to help you with the goal as opposed to making a goal. This is my goal. I want to achieve this. Uh, but you pray to Krishna, this is my goal. Krishna, please help me. You've brought Krishna into the goal setting process. And even if you haven't made a goal consciously, by praying, Krishna, please help me with this, you've just made a goal unknowingly. But that's what you're doing. So Satyavrata Kunti, they're making goals. My goal is detachment. So please help me with that. Naturally, who else is going to help us? Now, another thing about prayer, when a devotee is praying, one of the things we are saying to Krishna is, I don't think I can do this without your help. And so, yeyatamam prapadyate, yeyatamam prapadyante, tam stadaivi. I like Bhajamyam. I said Bhajam. Yeyatamam prapadyante. Krishna is saying, I'm reciprocating according to the desire of my devotee. So we have a desire, but when we call Krishna up and tell him this is my desire, we're like activating your credit card, you know. You get a new credit card, call this number, activate it. So prayers are like activation of the desire. Krishna, this is what I want, and it's an activation of that desire for you also, which is so important because you could pray for something and even forget that you prayed for it. So prayer is telling Krishna, I'm dependent on you. I believe in you. I need your help. So if Krishna is reciprocating and you tell him, I need your help, then what do you think he's going to do? And if you have a problem and you don't ask Krishna for help, what do you think he's going to do? That's an easy question to answer, right? Just go to Bhagavad Gita 4:11 and the answer is there. If I loan you zero money, how much do you owe me? Nothing. So you give Krishna nothing, no prayer, no intention, no asking for help. Okay, Krishna will go to someone else who's asking, right? Be the first on your block to ask Krishna for help. You'll be first in line to get help. If you don't ask, the next door neighbor will ask and they'll be in front of you and they'll get it and you won't. So that's the idea. Um, mm, mm, yeah, I think that's clear, isn't it? Does anyone have any questions on this so far? I think, uh, I think the underlying theme of prayer, and especially these prayers, is helplessness, don't you? Krishna, I'm helpless. Like I can't do this without you. That's the mood. I am a conditioned soul, and I cannot do this without you. I need your help. And and if we don't think that way, then that is pride, and pride will destroy everything. And when we think that way, that's humility, and humility will bring everything. Krishna. So um, even the pure devotee feels, even the pure devotee feels like this. I can't do this on my own. I'm not capable. And I've been studying the Shikshashtakam. We're doing a Japa online retreat. You probably heard about it. And I'm going to be basing it on the Shikshashtakam. And in studying this and meditating on this, one thing becomes obvious. I read many things the Prabhupada said about the holy name, and I was thinking about Kali Yuga. So we're all familiar with Kali Yuga. We're living in Kali Yuga. We are residents, inhabitants of the Kali Yuga. We know that in Kali Yuga, the spiritual tendencies of people are less, intelligence is less. So many things are less. And so in meditating on this, the helplessness of residents of Kali Yuga should be emphasized. Like we are basically without the mercy of Krishna, without the mercy of the holy name, without the mercy of Guru, as a bona fide resident of Kali Yuga, you have what do they say? A snowball's chance of surviving in hell. Like, what is the chance of a snowball? Well, hell in the Christian concept is fire. So what is the chance of snow living in fire? There is no chance. So the chance of becoming Krishna conscious for someone in Kali Yuga is the same chance that a snowball will survive in hell, which means it's another way of saying there is no chance, right? So now let's start with there. You and I have no chance of becoming Krishna conscious without some mercy. Do you all accept that? Like, you think you could do it on your own without mercy? If you do, I wouldn't advise trying. You've already tried for millions of lifetimes. If we could do that, we would have done it already. So I think it's obvious. So then what happens in Kali Yuga? Everything is going to happen by mercy, the mercy of the holy name, the mercy of Prabhupada, the mercy of the Acharyas, the mercy of Mahaprabhu, mercy of Nityananda. We are mercy cases. So that needs to be clearly understood. Like, on my own, forget it. I've dropped in the middle of the ocean. I don't even know how to swim. Even if I did, I don't have enough strength to swim to the shore. I need someone to help me. That's our position. So when we pray, that's the mood in which we pray. That without your help, I'm drowning in this ocean. Without your help, that's it. I can't swim to the shore. Maybe I can't even swim, or I can hardly swim, or sort of swim, or I could swim a little, but I definitely couldn't swim enough. So that's how a devotee enters the mood of prayer. It's a mood of, it's Kali Yuga. I'm still here. I haven't gone back to Godhead. In Kali Yuga, we're devoid of the qualification to be Krishna conscious. Take away the Maha Mantra, take away the mercy of Guru. What do you have left? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and a brain that doesn't really function spiritually. Basically, that's what you have. You're on your own. Good luck. So that's how we approach prayer, with the realization that I'm drowning in this ocean and I need someone to pick me up. Okay, so we have some questions. First question. I don't know who it's from. Who is that question from, Jai Radhe? The Facebook question. From somebody. All right, we'll find out. Yeah, that's Para Ananda from Poland. We can pray in our neophyte stage for discovered by Krishna original rasa with him, or we rather continue our service to the point naturally developing our Srip City? Yes and no. Because according to our teachings, that when you get to the stage of the Sakti, which is one stage before Bhava, and Bhava is one stage before Prema, when you get to that stage, your inclination for a particular rasa becomes very strong. You may have an inclination now. Maybe that inclination could be materially influenced. You like to wrestle and you hear that the coward boys wrestle. You think, I want to be a coward boy. You like kachores. Like, the coward boys like kachores. I want to be a coward boy. It could be materially, or you're a woman and say, I want to make Krishna my husband. So it could be materially motivated, materially conditioned. Yeah, let's say that. In the stage of a sakti, your relationship with Krishna becomes the inclination becomes strong. On the stage of bhava, you realize that you're in that relationship. So if you were to pray, Krishna, please reveal my relationship with you, it would probably be better, safer to pray, Krishna, please help me come to the stage of asakti. Like sometimes we pray, Krishna, give me emotion, or Krishna, give me taste. If I say, Krishna, give me taste, some devotees will say, well, should I pray for taste? Isn't that material? Then just pray, Krishna, please help me come to the stage of ruchi. Because praying to come to the stage of ruchi it's very clear. That's a higher stage. I'm praying for a higher position. The consequence of coming to that higher stage is that I will have taste. So it's like kind of, you could say, it's a cleaner way of praying. So you can pray, Krishna, please help me come to the next level. Generally, I've never seen prayers, or I've never seen it recommended that we pray, Krishna, please reveal my relationship with you. It's not wrong, but it may be premature. Like, why do I have to pray to Krishna to reveal the relationship when it will be revealed when I'm more advanced? So why not just pray, Krishna, please help me become more advanced? If you want to practice Raganuga Bhakti, you have to practice in a particular relationship. Yeah, you may want to pray to understand that relationship, but as you become more advanced, it'll become more clear. The inclination will be stronger. You might be getting ahead of yourself. Many devotees who contemplate these things can hardly get out of bed in the morning. So it's premature. Struggle with the principles. It's premature. So we should be careful not to prematurely transcend. But another answer to this question is we should pray for pure bhakti. That's what we're more concerned with, is to serve Krishna purely. And when we're qualified, then we'll know what relationship we're in. That's an answer, maybe not the only answer. Someone else could say, no, we should be gravitating towards Raganuga Bhakti, in which you serve Krishna, or you follow the resident of Brajbasi in a particular rasa. You need to know your rasa to be able to do that. But a lot of times it's not that you have to be in the stage of bhava. It's just that you have a certain inclination. But that was never, it wasn't overly emphasized by Prabhupada, especially not until one is more advanced. So, Shina says, I always ask for finding a good husband and health and well-being for my loved ones. How can I make this prayer less materialistic? Well, praying for a good husband, whatever you're praying for, in bhakti, it's all about why you're praying. I could pray for a good husband. I could pray for a mansion. I could pray for $1 billion. Why? Because I have a desire to serve Krishna in a particular way, and I need these facilities. But when I pray that way, I also have to be detached, because maybe I'm not qualified for these things. So I always encourage devotees, if you're going to pray for anything, you should also pray for the qualification to have those things. A lot of women pray for a good husband, a lot of men pray for a good wife, and the people praying are pretty much useless, to be honest, as husbands and wives. So why would Krishna give them? I'm not going to give you a good wife, a good husband. You'll ruin them. You'll destroy them. You don't know how to be a good husband and wife. So, like, I deserve the best husband. Really? How do you know? What about praying, Krishna, please give me whatever I deserve? No, 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 no. I don't want to pray. I don't want what I deserve. I want something much better. But I think it's important. As Prabhupada said, there's a saying, first deserve, then desire, Are you capable, if you're praying for a good husband, are you capable of being a good wife? If you're praying for a good wife, are you capable of being a good husband? If you're praying for wealth, do you have a project in Krishna consciousness to use it for? Can you manage money well? Will you squander it on sense gratification? Now, it's natural to pray to Krishna for the well-being of our relatives, but why not pray for the spiritual well-being of the relatives rather than their material health? Because if they're materially healthy and they're not devotees, then you've just, that it's of no eternal benefit to them. So if you really love them, why not you pray that they become open to bhakti? Um, okay. Um, okay. Sometimes my son or my relative who knows I am Krishna conscious asks me to chant for them so that they are successful in their material endeavor or their health. Should we chant for them? What do you think the answer is, Kamalolo-chan? And if you say yes, you have to give me a verse or a purport, and you know you can't. So that answers the question, right? Like, if I'm going to answer a question, I have to have some way to support it. Out of your kindness and mercy, you could pray to them. Maybe you could pray, yeah, I pray you become successful. Tell them, I pray that you become successful so that you can realize that material success will not make you happy. Yeah, that I can pray for. Like that Jim Carrey said, he was very wealthy and he said, I pray that everyone becomes famous and wealthy like me so that you can realize that fame and wealth won't make you happy.
Won't make you happy.
So you can, if you really want to pray to him for wealth and health and say, yeah, I pray for your health and wealth, and I pray that it won't make you happy. I pray that you realize it won't make you happy. In other words, our position is to help people get out of material entanglement and go back to Godhead. So therefore, naturally, we wouldn't pray for anything that would keep them in the material world and now I prayed for my son and he's very wealthy and happy and he's like have no interest in Krishna. Now, maybe you might say, if I tell him I prayed to Krishna and Krishna gave him money, then he would become a devotee or he would believe in Krishna. Okay, maybe that's a different thing. So you have to evaluate it. I'm only speaking strictly speaking, as devotees, we wouldn't pray for these things. But if there's some a spiritual benefit, that could be a consequence of these things. Yes. Like some gurus, people ask for blessings and they just give it. Like, okay, take it. Like, leave me alone. I want a good wife. Okay, blessing. Get out of here. It's not it's not my job description to bless you materially. That's not the job description of a sadhu, although that has become, for many, it's probably a good business, right? You can also pray, to Krishna, give my son whatever he needs or take away from him whatever needs to be taken for him to realize, what's best. You know better than I what he needs. So, that's it's like, what did Narada Muni do with Nala Kuvera Mani Griva? He cursed them so that they could become Krishna conscious. Like, well, wow, that's very bad. A devotee is cursing someone. Well, it wasn't a curse, it was a blessing. It just looked like a curse. Or you could call it a curse. It was a blessing. But so, where in the Shastra do we ever see that a pure devotee would ever bless someone for material well-being? If he does, it's an exception. And it's just because that sadhu knows when this person has material well-being, he won't be happy and he'll understand that was my foolishness to ask for such things. And we also have that verse, you may know, when someone prays for something material and it's not good for them, Krishna doesn't give it because he knows. it's not going to be good for them. And Krishna doesn't want to do something that's not good. And sometimes we don't have enough money. We can pray to Krishna, please help me figure out, because this is a problem for me, for my spiritual. If it's a problem spiritually, then we may pray materially for some intelligence or guidance or something to help us. But when you pray for something, you should also make an intention yourself to try to achieve it. That comes up in the next question. There's a question here. I'm going to jump ahead. Then I'll go back to your question, Abhinav. Can we pray to keep us physically fit to serve him? There's nothing inherently wrong with that. I think the only thing inherently wrong with that is that you continue eating all your food fried in oil, white flour, fried in, some very unhealthy oil, tons of sugar, tons of white flour, tons of potatoes, and pray, and then you don't do any exercise and you're praying to Krishna to keep us physically fit. Krishna's like, ha, ha, ha. Why don't you pray to die? Because the way you're living, you're going to die, when you're 45. So, it's like, would you ask your boss for a raise if you're employed to work 8 hours a day, but you only work 2 hours and the rest of the time you're on your computer playing video games? It wouldn't be fair, right? Would it? So, sometimes we're asking Krishna for something and we're living the opposite way. I mean, sometimes this question about health, I mean, to me, just practically, it makes sense is to live a healthy life. Then you don't have to pray to Krishna for help. It's the people who live an unhealthy life who are praying for health, right? Isn't it kind of a paradox? Like, you drink a lot of water, you have a good mindset, you eat healthy, you exercise. You don't even have to pray to Krishna. Maybe you pray to Krishna to give you the strength to follow your determination to follow that health regimen. But to only be eating unhealthy food and praying to Krishna for help, I mean, think about it. Don't you think that's weird? I think it's very weird. I mean, it's natural. It's natural when we're ill, Krishna, please help me, especially if you're living a healthy lifestyle and you're ill, and being ill gets away in your bhakti. It would be natural to pray to Krishna, please help me. I think that's genuine. And you're praying because your ill health is in the way of your service, or you're praying for someone else who has done everything for their health. I think it's natural. At the same time, sometimes
¿Caliente
when a
agüita?
devotee is critically ill, we pray,
¿Caliente
but
agua?
back of
¿La
our
pongo?
mind. Maybe Krishna wants them to go back to Godhead, and maybe my prayer is contradicting Krishna's desire. You don't always know that, right? Maybe Krishna misses this devotee and he wants to take this devotee back to Godhead. And I'm praying to Krishna to keep this devotee in the world. Maybe he doesn't want to. I mean, that's something to consider also. Sometimes it seems inevitable. I think I know devotees who have left the world, and it seems for some of them, they actually wanted to. And we're praying, don't go. And they're like, shut up, I want to go. So it might be Krishna wants to take them. It might be their desire. We don't know. That's something we can consider. So Abhinav says, Srila Prabhupada said, just to surrender to Krishna and do bhakti, Krishna will take care of everything. And still sometimes there will be a need to pray for something spiritual. I think I already answered that question. We're always in need of something spiritual, aren't we? I would say if we're not praying to Krishna, something's wrong. Kirtaniya Sadahari. We're supposed to be praying 24 hours. And the Maha Mantra, one of the meanings is Krishna, I need help. So we're supposed to be praying to Krishna for help like all the time, isn't it? I need help, please help me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, all right, well, let's take this back one step, Abhinav. Krishna says, surrender unto me. Well, okay, so you can pray to be able to do that. You can also pray to have the faith that if I surrender, he will take care of everything, because both of those things can be difficult. To surrender and they go together, because if I don't have the faith that Krishna will take care of everything, how could I surrender? So I can pray to Krishna, please give me the faith, please give me the desire. I was thinking about surrender recently, and the huge paradox about surrender and the fear of surrendering to Krishna is that surrender is not an option. It's just what you surrender to. So, are you surrendered to your mind, your belly, your genital, your anger, your envy? Are you surrendered to your boss, your company, your husband, your wife, your children, your professor? The answer is yes. So surrender is, some people say, I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna, but you're not afraid to surrender to your boss, to your wife, to your husband, to your money, to your desire, to your lust, your greed, your anger. You're not afraid to surrender to that, but you're afraid to surrender to Krishna. Something's wrong, don't you think? So the idea of I'm afraid to surrender, you have to say, I make a complete sentence. I'm not afraid to surrender to Maya, but I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna. Then you'll get the reality, and then okay, there's something wrong. That should make sense to us, right? But if I say I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna, that sounds like logical to a conditioned mind. Yeah, it's a gradual process, and I can't give up everything right away. Right. But at the same time, you're surrendering to someone else, not gradually. Surrendering to material life, not gradually, not, completely, suddenly and completely, right? So if you say I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna, then right after that, right, but I'm not afraid to surrender to other things. And then look at that and think, oh, okay, this is not right. So I think that's extremely important to consider, because if you want to be Krishna conscious, it's important to be clear. You have to think clearly. And the way Maya works on us is to get us to not think clearly, because if we think clearly, we will see all her tricks. We will see what she's up to, and we will completely understand Krishna's words. And if we don't think clearly, then it's very difficult to be Krishna conscious. You agree? Right? So, if you don't think clearly and logically, you're going to have trouble in bhakti. You're going to say stupid things like, I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna. Yeah, all right, but you're not afraid to surrender to Maya. Don't you think something's wrong with that picture? Like, complete the sentence. The half sentence sounds good. It's a gradual process, and I'm a conditioned soul, and yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah, but when you add the reality that I'm surrendered to Maya, it becomes clear that my statement of I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna should be changed to I'm afraid to surrender to Maya. That's what you should be saying. Right? We say I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna. We don't say I'm afraid to surrender to Maya. Something's wrong with that. How many times have you said, I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna? And how many times have you said, I'm afraid to surrender to Maya? I've never heard a devotee ever tell me, I'm afraid to surrender to Maya. I've only heard them say, I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna. That's the only thing. I don't know about you. I'm just on the receiving end of this, I'm afraid to surrender stuff. And I've never heard anybody say, I'm afraid to surrender to Maya, only to Krishna. Hello. If Krishna appeared in front of you, playing his flute, calling you, smiling, according to what we know about Krishna, we would scream in ecstasy, cry, roll on the floor, grab onto his feet and go with him immediately. And we're saying, we wouldn't say, oh, Krishna, it's a gradual process. Can you come back in 10 years when I'm ready? I don't think we'd say that. Do you? I hope not. So why are we saying I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna and I'm not afraid to surrender to Maya? That's like backwards, isn't it? So, yeah. Are you afraid to surrender to Krishna and not Maya? I hope not. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Giselle has a question. I pray to Krishna for health and well-being of my children, my family. While I'm praying, I realize that even in those people who are not so close to my something, Krishna lives in their hearts, and then I feel selfish in praying only for those to whom I am close. Yeah, and I end up praying for all my brothers and for those whom I have no relationship. Yeah, you should. Okay, this is a good point, because if you're cultivating bhakti, cultivation of bhakti means you see the whole world as your family. So if you're just praying for your immediate family, that's natural. Of course, that's not bad, as we said, but if you're just praying for them to be happy materially, then there's no spiritual benefit. It's really against the principles of bhakti. Not that we want them to suffer materially. We don't, but we should pray more deeply for them. But if you look at if you investigate the consciousness of a pure devotee, then they see between their family, their children, other children. Now, practically speaking, if you didn't distinguish between your children and other children, you couldn't feed every child in the world, obviously. Say, I haven't fed my kid in 10 days. Why? Well, there's other kids to feed. No, that doesn't mean that. But you understand what it means, that for a pure devotee, he's feeling the pain of the suffering of all, not even of all humans, of all living entities. He's feeling that pain, not just his family. So yeah, it is selfish, because what Prabhupada explained, I think this is important. I think you understand this, but we're going to talk about it. Prabhupada said, we're all interested in ourselves, right? We all want to be happy. We all want to get things for ourselves. Sometimes when you are trying to do something, succeed at something, and you find out that somebody else has succeeded more than you, it doesn't make you happy. You ever had that experience? Why them? Why not me? It doesn't make you happy. Yes? Yeah. So we are supposed to be praying for the well-being of all people, but we are more concerned with the well-being of ourself. Me, as long as I'm happy, as long as I have tons of material happiness, material wealth, material fame, then I can be happy when you get money and fame, as long as it's not as much as I have. Then I'm okay, right? As long as I have like double, triple, quadruple what you have, I can be happy. So now that's the principle. We understand that's the principle of material life. Okay. So when you have children and your children are in pain, it hurts you more than if you're in pain. Like sometimes your child has some disease and you Krishna, just give me that disease. I'll suffer it. I can't stand to see them suffer. Yes? Rasastali, you have children. Kavita, you have children. Any of you, Krishna Premi, any of you have children, Hari Bhakti, or will have children, this will be your experience, right? You have this experience now. If your mother or father suffers, you suffer. If your brother or sister suffers, you suffer. So what does it mean? It means they are non-different than me. Their suffering is my suffering. So when I want to see them happy, Prabhupada said it's an extended selfishness. It's the same as wanting to see yourself happy because you identify them as yourself. It's part of your family, right? If your mother suffers, you suffer. If your sister suffers, you suffer. If your son, daughter suffers, you suffer. It's called extended selfishness. So it looks like a kind of humanitarian consciousness, but you even see this in animals. They take care of one another. And so Prabhupada said, that family selfishness is extended because you identify with them, or you identify with a community, you extend it because it's, but what happens is when you identify with that family or community, there's another family or community you don't identify with that you may become inimical to, or at least you don't care about. Where a devotee, he sees the whole world like one family. So as you may be concerned about your family, that's selfish or extended selfish. Vaishnava is concerned about everyone is one family. So that's what we're trying to cultivate. So these other feelings, of course, they're natural. They're our family. But a pure devotee has that feeling towards everybody. And if we, it's like, especially in India, it's very prominent. You have different castes, different families, and some of them don't like one another, isn't it? This, people with this last name don't like people with that last name. It's probably got a 3,000-year history of why they don't like one another. And you're born in that family, so you're born with you inherit the not liking. It's, different family. So pure devotee won't see that. You'll see one world, one family. Okay. Tanya says, there are days when it's difficult to keep your mind focused during japa, and I feel like I'm committing an offense. Totally names that way. If it stays this way after a few rounds, is it better to pause and come back to it later? Yes, consideration. You could do that. It's time to read japa affirmations. Da-da-da-da. Japa affirmations to the rescue. Take out your japa affirmation book. If you don't have it, go to Amazon and get it and read it. Yeah, okay. You know that song, Let It Be by the Beatles? In times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. Yeah. When my japa is in trouble, japa affirmations comes to me. Tells me how to chant Hare Krishna. Dude, something like that. That's the song. Maybe we should write the song and do a commercial, yeah. Have a picture of a devotee like, I can't chant. Mind's going everywhere. Pulls out japa affirmations and then sitting there, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Tanya, I'll give you a preview of what we're going to teach in the japa retreat. I've been analyzing Shishashtakam. And if you look at the second verse, Krishna says, Mahaprabhu says, Krishna, you've invested all your potencies in your holy name. What he means is that we say Krishna and his name are not different. And Mahaprabhu says, all your potencies, it means like you didn't leave anything out. Like, okay, Krishna in your name, you're a partial incarnation. No, you're not a partial incarnation. You're not a plenary portion of an incarnation. You are the whole thing. You are the real thing. And so when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna is there with you. And just appreciating that is enough to completely revamp your japa within 1 nanosecond. If you just think of that, Krishna is here with me right now, and just say, wow, Krishna's right here. I was meditating on this and I was chanting on the airplane coming back from Australia. And of all places to chant japa, I can't think of a worse place to chant than the airplane. With 100 other people sleeping or watching some video where people are where people are breaking all the regulative principles. Any screen you look at, someone's breaking some principle, right? And I was just meditating on, I'm here with Krishna right now. Wow, this is amazing. And I could actually chant good rounds, even there. Wow, just by meditating on that. So what we need, Tanya, is like our go-to, when I'm in a bad consciousness, what's my go-to to just pull me out of it? And that's a really amazing go-to. It's just Krishna's right here, right now. Just appreciate that. Krishna has taken the trouble in Kali Yuga to come in the holy name, like fully, 100%. All your potencies. Nam namakari bahuda nija sarva shaktis, all your potencies. That means you're fully there in the name. And he's sitting there with you. Just appreciate that. And you didn't have to qualify for it. You didn't even have to take a bath. You don't even have to be initiated. You don't have to even chant, you can even chant on an airplane. You could even chant in the bathroom, anywhere. And what does Mahaprabhu say? I'm so unfortunate that I don't appreciate it. So we'll appreciate it. And once you appreciate it, you're like, wow, I'm so fortunate. I like to walk a lot when I chant. I mean, I don't walk all my rounds, but I like to walk and chant. And whenever I walk and chant, I always feel like Krishna and I are going on a walk. And I've taken thousands of walks with Krishna in my life. So, you can take a Japa walk and completely space out. Have you ever done that? I know the answer is yes, you have. But you could go on a Japa walk and think, wow, Krishna and I are going on a walk because he's present in his name. And one of the things that is such a beautiful thing to ponder, that Krishna consciousness is very deep. You can go deep into everything about it. You want to go deep into understanding the holy name, you can go very deep. You want to go deep into understanding philosophy, you can understand the philosophy for Day of Brahma and just barely hit the tip of the iceberg. You understand Krishna Lila, you can understand it in 1,000 ways. There's so much there. And one of the problems that we have in bhakti is like we basically don't even take the jar off the lid. You could be swimming deeply in this ocean of nectar and we still have the lid on the jar. So then we're chanting and we're not experiencing anything. So we haven't even taken the lid off. So, if you take the lid off and just consider, oh my God, Krishna has come in his holy name. And he's appearing personally. And without any prior qualification, he's doing that. And if I have Krishna's association, then everything is perfect. And I can become a pure devotee with Krishna's association. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? What can compare to that? Nothing, right? So that kind of appreciation can snap you out of it. Try it, see what happens, okay? Ajinkya says, a lot of times we lack awareness of our own emotions or find difficulty in understanding our emotions. How can we strengthen our connection with ourselves? Well, you have to ask yourself why you don't want to feel. What are you afraid of feeling? There might be something, like really, really, really deep, that you're not even aware of that's blocking you from feeling. But, obviously, if the emotion is not comfortable, we don't want to feel it. So just ask yourself why you don't want to feel it. And if you have difficulty feeling it, just take a deep breath and face it. And, move through it and you'll be okay. You'll be all right. All you guys, a message to you. If you feel your emotions, you'll survive. You'll be okay. I think it could be, when men look at women, women's emotions can like change often in the day. And that sometimes the men look at that and they might think, well, I don't want to be like that. So they may I'm just like, I'm going to turn that switch on the off button for emotions. I'll just have one emotion today, which is basically no emotion. That way I'll be safe, I'll be steady, I'll be detached and like that. So that could also be there, you know. It's like I don't want to be like a woman, they're up and down, you know. You never know. You say the same thing today and you say the same thing tomorrow, and one day they hug you and one day they slap you. So like I don't know. I don't want to be like that. So, you know, that could be, right? Or, you know, you could have had emotional experiences which were really painful. So you don't emotion, you know, is synonymous with pain. It could be so many things. But it could also be philosophical that I think, well, I'm not supposed to be emotional in bhakti because that would be sentimental or that would be a sign of material attachment. So you have to, you know, understand the fallacies of that and how emotion can be used in bhakti and where it's healthy and where it's not. Anyway, I can't say for you personally, but that's something. So we have a question from Mexico. Follow your teachings the past 10 months and understand that we must pray to Krishna daily. On the other hand, you have related this topic to monetary matters or to a bank, but a recurring question has arisen. If every day I'm praying, then I'm asking. It is like asking for a loan from the bank, like all credit. I must pay it. Rather with suffering or devotional service. Then my specific question is, does prayer generate karmic debts, even when these prayers are driven by good intentions? I'm tangled in that duality, entangled, and I don't know if it's pride or not. Thank you. Well, if you think of Krishna as a person and you ask any person for something and the person comes and gives it to you, yeah, there is some obligation, because the obligation that we have when we're praying is to take Krishna's mercy and then engage it back in his service. So if I'm praying for mercy and then I get it and then I go to sleep, well, Krishna gave me his mercy, I don't have to do anything. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a karmic debt, but it's a personal relationship. So it's not healthy for the relationship. So, you know, as a devotee, you don't have karma. So we're not really dealing with karma, but we're dealing with a relationship with Krishna. So you're praying to Krishna for him to give you something. He gives it. And then what happens? You do nothing. You don't take it. So, you know, I want to buy you a present. I don't have any money. Can you give me money so I can buy you a present? And you go, all right. Like a child will ask their parents, you have some money, I want to buy you a present. So the father gives him money and he goes out and buys himself a present. How does that work for the father? Not really good. Where's the present? Oh, I bought one for myself instead. How does that help the relationship? It doesn't. It hurts the relationship. So you're asking Krishna for something, he gives it to you, then use it in service and then you benefit. And that helps your relationship. And if you use it, if you don't, yeah. Why would you pray for it if you're not going to use it? You know, there's this prayer by this monk, Christian monk. Please give me celibacy, but I'm not ready yet. So if you're going to pray for something, then should be ready for the result because Krishna will give it. You pray, you know, be careful if you pray for detachment because Krishna might take something away. Right? You know, you might want to be, this one devotee said, his mother was really upset when he became a devotee because she was praying. She was a Catholic and she was praying that he would become a priest or a monk or something. And he became a Hare Krishna monk. And his mother said, you disappointed me. I always prayed that you would be a monk. And he said, well, you should have been more specific. I thought it was like one of the funniest things I ever heard. Oh God, I pray my son will become a monk. And he becomes a monk. It's like, yeah, but you didn't say what kind. So, you know, maybe when you're praying, you need to be specific. You know, Krishna, please help me with this. And I promise when you help me with this, I will use that in your service, right? I won't go to sleep. Krishna, I need this for my service. Hare Krishna. Does that make sense to you? Mm. And he's asking if it's pride or not. I'm not sure if it's pride or not, but if you're honest, if we are honest with ourselves and we do something out of pride, we'll know. If we're dishonest with ourselves and we do something out of pride, we won't know. So if you ever say, how do I know whether I'm doing it out of pride or not? My only answer would be, you should know. And just if you're honest with yourself, you will know. And why do I want this mercy? So I can advertise myself as a great devotee. Look, everyone, I got the mercy. You can wear a sign. I got Krishna's mercy. I'm a great devotee. I'm better than you. Yeah, that's pride. So why do I want Krishna's mercy? So I can serve him better. So I can serve the devotees better. Then there's not pride in that. I was giving in Australia. We did a workshop on humility, and we all know it's true that sometimes we've seen others try to play the part of a very humble devotee, externally, show it. And the reason that sometimes a devotee wants to show this kind of pride is because they want you to think that they're humble. You ever done that? Like you ever wanted somebody to think you're humble? Like that is the supreme paradox of the universe. I want to be known. I want to become famous for being humble. Like what could be a bigger paradox than that? I want you to think I'm humble. Do you think I'm humble, Prabhu? Prabhu, did you notice how humble I am? Yeah, I notice you're very humble. Oh, thank you. Now I'm satisfied. I'm becoming well known for being humble. So, sometimes self-deception is such that we do that and we don't even notice we're doing it. We're trying to be humble to be glorified as being humble. Hare Krishna. I don't think it gets any worse than that. What do you think? That's a Bhakta Burfi moment if I ever saw one. Bhakta Burfi's doing this and he's so happy because everybody thinks he's humble. He's now become famous as being the most humble. So, self-honesty is required to know, to be aware of your own motive. Kamalochan says, avidya is the seed of all sin. So if we have knowledge only in our head and not realized in our heart, then actually we were still in avidya. Therefore, isn't it important that we just pray to Krishna to bring us out of avidya? Yeah, at least if you know you're in ignorance, avidya means ignorance. At least if you know you're in ignorance, you can pray to get out. But if you don't know, sometimes you're in ignorance and you think you're the best devotee, right? I'm the best devotee in my temple. No one's better than me. Half the devotees don't get up in the morning. Just look at them when they chant japa. It's miserable. And in class, half of them fall asleep. The people who give class don't even know the philosophy. I'm the best devotee. Yeah. Now you're in trouble. Bhagavatam says, well, if you think you're the best devotee, you're in the mode of ignorance. But if I understand, oh, I'm thinking I'm the best devotee, I'm not the best devotee, but I think I am. Yeah, okay. I can pray to Krishna, please help me. So yes, that's good. Kamalochan, what you're saying is, okay, I realize I'm in ignorance and I just accept it and do nothing. Well, that's tamaguna. It's like a higher stage of tamaguna. The lower stages, you don't even realize the ignorance. At least in the higher stage, you realize it, but you're just like, well, it's how I am. And you don't do anything. If you ever say, this is how I am and I can't change, you are classically demonstrating tamaguna, the mode of ignorance. And we all have sometimes at least thought that way. This is just the way I am. Take it or leave it, Prabhu. Yeah. We'll give you a new name. This is just the way I am, Prabhu. Yeah. That's a synonym for tamaguna. Like, why did you, if you're going to stay the same, why did you take initiation? You took initiation so you wouldn't stay the same, right? Yes? This is, yeah. So when you take initiation, now you're on the front lines of change, not the front lines of Bhakta Burfi and Bhakta Bozo. Yeah, it's just the way I am, Prabhu. I'm the most, yeah, this is Bhakta Burfi. I'm the most fallen, Prabhu. Whenever you try to correct Bhakta Burfi, he says, Prabhu, I'm the most fallen. I can't change. Yeah, Tamaguna. Have you ever seen that before? Just the way I am. If someone says that to you and say, okay, thank you, Bhakta Burfi, for that information. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Okay. Ananda says, please, Krishna, give me your mercy, but I mean the mercy of have complete happiness. And finally, after leave this body, go back to, doesn't work like that. No. Give me the mercy that I realize that material happiness won't make me happy. Give me the mercy of tasting spiritual happiness. You can pray like that. Krishna, please help me taste the nectar of devotional service. Why not? Okay. We can read more. We have, yeah, let's, Jairada, you want to put up the next quote? See what it says. Pray for service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches that we should only beg God for his service. Yeah, so that pretty much answers all your questions that you'll ever have about prayer. Right? What should we pray for? There it is. So important information about praying for service. When we're praying for service, we're also praying to realize that we are servants, right? Because you don't just want service, you want to realize you're a servant, because you could do service still thinking you are master, controller, and enjoyer. It's possible, right? Krishna, please engage me in your service. But I still haven't realized my position is I'm just a servant. And we might think, oh, that's easy. That's ABCs of bhakti. But yeah, it's ABCs intellectually. But to feel that when you look at every other human being and you feel, I am your servant, then you have arrived. Until that day when you're praying for service in your mind, you should understand, I'm praying to realize that I am a servant. If you ever see any other living entity or any material object and you think how you can enjoy that, then there's still room to grow in your service mentality. But if you see everything in this world and everybody in this world is, how can I serve you, or how can I engage this in service, then you've realized you're a servant. Until then, nope, we got a ways to go. So when we say beg for service, not just service, but beg for the mentality of a servant, that I can see I'm a servant of everyone, and everything that I see should be engaged in Christian service. Otherwise, what am I going to engage everything in, and how am I going to relate to people? Oh, I could get this from you and that from you. He's beautiful, she's beautiful, I can enjoy them. Oh, this person has money, maybe they can help me make money. This person has something I want, maybe I can get it from them. Oh, I like this object. Let me get the money and buy it, then I will enjoy it. You ever see animals, like if you throw them food and there's lots of animals, they'll grab it and they'll run away so the other animals don't get it? Have you ever seen that? Like, I think, yeah, it's common, when they're all fighting, they'll grab like birds, seagulls. If you feed them, they'll grab it and they'll fly away and they'll eat it. Let me get this, whatever this is, and enjoy it for myself. Krishna, please engage me in your service so that everything I see, I think how I can use it for you. Every person I see, I respect them as your servants. And my only relation to those people is to serve them or to help them realize that they are servants or in some way give them Krishna consciousness. That's what we're praying for. And so if we don't have that mentality, which we don't fully have it because we're conditioned souls, we should pray for it, right? That's what we're praying for when we chant. And if you're chanting and you don't realize you're praying for that, then whatever you're praying for or not praying for, because maybe you're chanting, not praying for anything, that's really what you get from the Maha Mantra. We've talked about this a lot, how you think, well, I just chant the Maha Mantra, the right mentality will come. Yes and no, but you may have the wrong mentality, and the wrong mentality may be blocking the right mentality. So now you can remember when you pray to to be a servant, not just to have service. If you join ISKCON, you don't have to pray for service. They'll give you too much. Yeah, when I moved into the temple, I stopped chanting my rounds because they gave me so much service. I didn't have to chant anymore and ask for service. No, it's not like that. I had to keep chanting to pray to be a servant. Even if you don't chant, just go to an ISKCON temple. They'll give you tons of service. More service than you can do in a day, even if you don't chant. But the mood is the idea is to be in the mood of a servant. Okay, we can have one more quote. We have 6 minutes, maybe one or two. Pray to always think of Krishna. Beautiful. Just as a fort is safe when it is defended by a great general, if Krishna is placed in the fort of the mind, there will be no possibility of the enemies entering. Wow. Material, education, wealth, and power will not help one to control the mind. A great devotee prays, when will I be able to think of you constantly? My mind is always dragging me about, but as soon as I am able to fix my mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, it becomes clear. So, to think of Krishna always is the goal of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada had written that to me in a letter. He said, the goal is to be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, that's the goal. Why, when we say absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, how's that possible? Well, my dear devotees, what else are you going to think about if you're not absorbed in thoughts of Krishna? What are you going to be absorbed in thoughts of today, or maybe today for us in the US is the solar eclipse. It's going to happen in 4 hours, I think. So, okay, everyone's mind is absorbed in the solar eclipse, right? You didn't have it in India, I don't think, but in certain places are going to go dark for 4 seconds this afternoon. So, all right, everyone's mind is absorbed in the solar eclipse, or if you live in America, your mind is absorbed in Donald Trump. I guess you don't have to live in America to be absorbed in him. He's such a character. He can attract the whole world, right? He's the most, next to Krishna, he might be the most attractive person because of his nefarious activities and wildly abusive tongue. So if you live in America or maybe even anywhere, it's very easy to be absorbed in what he does because he's always doing something, which is newsworthy. So when we say always think of Krishna, devotees think impossible. All right. So what are you going to always think of? Trump, solar eclipse. What about the latest movie? Just go down the list of what you can always think about. And when you fall in love, what do you think about? 24/7. That person. That's what you think about. So when Prabhupada says always think of Krishna, it's not like, oh, So hard. All right. It's like surrender. Okay, you don't want to think of Krishna? All right. What are you going to think of? Somebody, something, something you want to buy. What's on your bucket list? What do you want to get? Where do you want to go? What are you looking forward to? You think of that. Right? So the goal is think of Krishna. Because when you're in love, you think of the person you're in love with, right? So if you're in love with Krishna, how could you not think of him 24/7? Now here's the most interesting thing. Devotees will say it's hard to think of Krishna all the time. Yes? You ever say that? Right? Because we're thinking about sense gratification. That's the only reason. But Krishna is in every atom, and still we can't think of him 24/7. What's wrong with that picture? He's in every atom. His energy pervades this world. He owns everything. He's in the heart of every living entity, and still we can't think of him 24/7. Something is wrong with that picture, don't you think? Yes? To top that off, the icing on the cake, there are atheists. Atheists. That means God's everywhere and they can't see him. And they're blaming people who believe in God as being stupid. I don't know. I don't know about that. But so we are learning how to see Krishna everywhere, in everything, 24/7. Right? Krishna's everywhere, in everything, in everyone's heart. Everything belongs to him. Everything is. So when you're using everything for Krishna, then you're thinking of him. When you're using it for yourself, you're forgetting him. Right? Yes? Correct? How can you possibly forget Krishna? Only because you're thinking about sense gratification. That's the only reason. Sorry to be so honest, but it is. The only reason we forget Krishna is we're thinking about enjoying something independently of him. And when you think about everything belongs to Krishna, everything's for his service, then what are you thinking about? You're thinking about his teachings. What are you thinking about? Yeah. So it is possible, as Prabhupada said, we should be absorbed in Krishna thought 24/7. And that's why Prabhupada, he always wanted us to talk about Krishna, because it's such a good way. Such a good way to remember Krishna. Just always talk about him. Always think about the philosophy. Always think about how to spread Krishna consciousness, how to make people Krishna conscious. And then you'll be thinking of him. So simple, isn't it? So simple you could miss it. Yes? Hare Krishna. All right. We're going to end class. I don't know if Gauramani's going to show up for Japa, but